wouldn't apply for a single new credit card unless you hear all the new massive changes that Chase has just introduced. That might just change your credit card strategy for the future, and I think it might just change the credit card world forever. But with Chase introducing Amex-like pop-up jail, where it's going to determine whether or not you're eligible to get a bonus on any of their cards for the future. Also introducing Amex-like lifetime language, where if you already had a welcome offer on a Sapphire card before, you may no longer be eligible to get a Sapphire card for as long as you live. To which basically eliminated the 48-month rule that we had prior that so many of us, myself included, have been waiting on. Not only that, but also Chase business card referrals are now only for new Chase business card customers. So if you want to refer your spouse who already has a Chasing business card, well, if she's already had one before, then you're not going to get a referral for getting a second one, which definitely I know a lot of folks in the community who have multiple businesses that this will hurt. And not even to mention that the Chase Freedom Flex you can't even apply for at the moment. We don't know what's happening with it, but we'll dive deeper in this video. But starting off with one of the biggest caveats that I want everybody to know in case you did not read the fine print, but you want to go for the new Sapphire Reserve. Now you can see that they have a new welcome offer here of 100,000 points and a $500 travel credit. Okay, cool. But you might be wondering about the whole new Amex style lifetime language that has now been introduced on the Sapphire cards. Here's a picture I found on Reddit of somebody who actually applied for the new Sapphire Reserve, and they got this window that states, it looks like you're not eligible for a bonus for the Sapphire Reserve credit card. This can happen if you've already held or received a bonus for this credit card in the past. Current holders of personal Chase Sapphire cards are also ineligible. So if you're somebody who holds a Sapphire Preferred right now, or obviously just a Reserve, you are going to be ineligible for that welcome offer. And they mentioned we haven't done a credit check yet, so there'll be no impact to your score if you don't continue. Now, you could either continue without the bonus, and you could still get the card, but you won't get the bonus, or you can cancel the application and there's no impact to your credit score. So just so you know that this pop-up window does exist now, and it looks like for anybody going forward for the future, if you get a Sapphire card, I guess from today until the end of time, you're more than likely not going to be eligible for a new Sapphire card in the future, which, as I mentioned in the intro, is that they effectively have eliminated the 48-month rule, which meant that you can get a Sapphire bonus every 4 years. Literally, I was on month 44 right now. I literally have like 4 months left, and I would be eligible for another Sapphire bonus, and that has just been stunted, unfortunately. So kudos to Chase for introducing this. I think it's very smart, and I think every change that you're going to see going forward all has to do with mitigating the amount of value that the points and miles community can get and maximizing the amount of money that the bank can make, and I guess for the average user for sure. So I don't hate all these changes. I understand it from the business side, but I want you guys to know before you proceed any further. However, I will say that if you've had a Sapphire card in the past and you go to downgrade your card and apply for this new Sapphire Reserve, I have seen some Reddit threads where people have said they did get the bonus and some people said they didn't. Try at your own peril, but just letting you know, it is a very much possibility that you could still get a Sapphire Reserve welcome offer, even though you have a Sapphire currently, which is different than if you get a Sapphire today and then never getting a bonus again for the future. Just understand that distinction and do your own due diligence on that at home. What else do we have? Well, we have another pop-up window that's not related to once per lifetime, but now just whether or not you are eligible to get a bonus on any Chase credit card. So here's a window someone mentioned. We have an update after reviewing your credit report. We can provide you with a new card member bonus because of the number of credit cards you've recently opened. Does this sound familiar to you in just a more straightforward term? That's right. This is very likely, in my prediction, the new 524 rule going forward. In the past, we've always known the 524 rule, meaning if you've gotten 5 different credit cards between all different issuers in the last 2 years, you will be subsequently denied for any Chase cards that you go for. And I think that that was smart because it made people prioritize Chase first, get a lot of different Chase credit cards and use their cards first. But I think what a lot of people, or at least the banks, realize is that in this community, everybody covets their 524 status. They try really hard to get under, don't apply for any of these other cards, and they will actually hold out and wait to be eligible to get a card that they may want and hopefully get the welcome offer as well, right? We all want a welcome offer. However, what this new language suggests to me, and again, I don't know concrete details on this, but my prediction is that the new 524 rule is not going to determine whether or not you can get the card. I think if you're over 524 now, you'll likely get the card. But now it's just determining if you've had 5 or more cards, or if there's a new algorithm, let's see. But if you've had more than 5 cards open the last 2 years, you're likely not going to be eligible to get the bonus. You can still get the card, right? You can still spend on the chase cards and be a good customer, but you no longer will be able to get the bonus because I guess you are now at high risk of being unprofitable to the banks, which once again, very, very smart on Chase's part. They exactly know what they were doing with this entire rollout, but bad for the credit card points and miles community. Because we've known people who've been able to still apply over 524 and get approved. I've done this myself as well on the business side, where I was approved over 524 for my Inc. business credit cards. And even that is changing a little bit as well. As I mentioned, the Chase business card referrals are now only for new Chase business customers. Like, for example, if your spouse wants to get another Chase Inc. business card and you refer them, you no longer will get a referral bonus for referring them because they're no longer a new Chase business card customer. And where have we seen language very, very similar to this before? I wonder, where have we seen this? Oh, that's right. With Capital One, we have seen for many, many years, especially on the Venture X. You can see you will only earn the referral bonus if the recipient is approved for a Capital One card, applies for that card using a referral link, and doesn't already have a Capital One card. We know this to be true. If anybody has a Capital One card, but I go to refer them to, say, a Venture X, you should not get any referral bonus whatsoever on that card. And I know sometimes it's been able to get passed, but this is a rule that it has affected many, many people in this space. I've talked to everybody in the Discord. So yes, that is a rule and it has affected people. And it looks like that's what Chase is starting to implement here. And now I'm starting to hear some talks that, we don't know. Is this going to be introduced to all Chase cards for the future? Is this not only going to be business cards? Is this going to extend to the rest of Chase's cards lineup, or just the Sapphire lineup, or even just the Freedom card lineups? We're not necessarily sure at this time, which also has had some pretty crazy changes recently. If you were somebody who is looking to get a Chase Freedom Flex, well, you actually cannot apply for that card right now. That's right. As of just a few days ago, it was directly pulled from the website. In fact, if you type in Chase Freedom Flex and click on it right here, it'll take you to the Sapphire Reserve page and then just the rest of the Chase credit card lineup, like the Freedom Unlimited still here, the Sapphire Preferred, Amazon Prime Visa, and the largest swath of all the other Chase cards that they offer, but no Freedom Flex. And it has a lot of people wondering, what is Chase doing? How many different things are they going to change? And why is there no longer a Freedom Flex? In fact, our good friend Joe Barretto has done some live streams talking about what he heard from the VPs of his local Chase branches from the Freedom Flex. But as Joe found out, which was actually reported here on Danny the Deal Guru, you can see here, data point by Mr. Joe Barretto. He said, based on the information shared by a branch VP, the reason the Freedom Flex was removed is because it is a MasterCard and they are likely switching it to a Visa. They also stated the Flex is not being applied for in numbers like their other cards, and that's why it's in branch only for now. So very, very interesting there. So if you're somebody looking to apply for a Flex, well, you got to go in branch right now, just so you know, at least at the time of me filming this on July 3rd, 2025. And another thing I just wanted to note before talking about the greater strategy here and what's going to change moving forward is, remember when the Sapphire Reserve just started launching some new details about it? We saw this little information chart right here, which is if anybody's had a Sapphire Reserve in the past, so anybody who's paid $550 for the card prior to literally just last week on June 23rd, then you will have paid a $550 annual fee, but you're not going to be getting any of the benefits like the 8x points on Chase Travel, the $500 edit credit, the StubHub credit, the Chase Dining credit. You're not getting any of those credits until October 26, 2025. And you might be wondering, like, why would they do that? Why would they hurt current card holders? Well, again, I think it's all just to snub the credit card points and miles community. And again, rightly so. They are extremely smart and they rolled this out in the best way possible. Think about it, myself included. Anybody who held the Sapphire Reserve or a Sapphire Preferred prior to June 23rd, when the new annual fee was going to drop off $795, you would just upgrade your card to a day before, get the $550 annual fee, and then the next day you would have the swath of, I guess what they mentioned, $2,700 worth of credits that are available. In our case, probably like $800 to $1,100 in credits. But they said, no, we're too smart. We're actually going to make all of you people wait 6 months until October, which is a good amount of time and you're still going to be benefiting. But all of these changes are just to let us know that they're aware and they are smart. And so those are all the massive rule changes that you need to know before you start going out and applying for a million different credit cards. But There's something bigger even at play here. And that is the greater strategy for anybody who's just getting into the credit card points and miles game as a whole. Because we know on credit card YouTube for many, many years, everyone's always prioritized Chase, right? Get your first 5 credit cards. So this way you're under that 524 status. Get all the Chase credit cards that you would ever want. And then you can kind of have a little bit more fun and relax a little bit and apply for some Amex cards, some Citi cards, some, Wells Fargo, some Capital One, all these different other cards that will add to your 524 status. But by that time, you will have already accumulated all of the massive good Chase credit cards that you want. Like most people will get a Freedom Unlimited or a Flex. They'll get a Sapphire Preferred, maybe a World of Hyatt credit card, and maybe a United credit card, something like that. And so if my prediction is true and that 524 no longer dictates whether or not you're going to get approved for a card or not, but now determining whether or not you're going to get a bonus, I think that's going to do maybe one of two things. One, it might not do anything because if 524 determines whether or not you get approved for a card, or if my prediction is correct and now it's just determining whether or not you're getting a bonus, I think it kind of effectively does the same thing. I think more people would prioritize Chase a little bit harder, like get even more so, like all the Chase cards that you want, make it more of a priority. So this way you definitely get the card and get the bonus as well, instead of just like, okay, I'll take the card without the bonus, which most of us aren't doing, but I think people out in the world are doing, no problem. But I think too, and I think I might fall into this, is that basically, if you've already had majority of the chase cards that you want, then there's not really much else incentive of staying or dancing around 524 anymore. Because nowadays, if it's going to rely more so on just like, if you have so many credit cards, then you're not getting the bonus, then people aren't even going to try to apply for some of these credit cards, whether at 524 or above. And we know a lot of people have been able to overturn Chase's decision by calling recon. So recon might just be a thing of the past now, because as we saw here, it seems like what I'm guessing is going to happen is like, yes, everybody can get a Chase credit card, right? Spend on our cards, but you're going to continue your application without the bonus. You're going to have to make that decision from inception. And again, I think that's smart from a business perspective, right? More people spending on the cards without giving the bonus, that's a lot more profitable card for them and a lot more profitable on the acquisition for sure. But I think if people have less faith in the whole approved over 524 or recon or getting no bonus whatsoever, it's probably going to push people to go to LOL 24. And I think that's kind of where I'm heading now. And so let me explain to you what I'm going to be doing going forward and see if this makes sense to you. So currently I am 424 at the moment, and there actually are a couple of chase cards that I'm interested in. And if you look, you might not even be aware, but there are a ton of chase cards that you can apply for. You may not even realize that they are chase cards, but really if you go through, you can find some pretty powerful ones. Now there's 3 in particular that I want at this moment at 424. Now I think I want this Marriott Bonvoy Boundless, which is a 5-night free offer. You just have to spend 5K in the first 3 months and you get 5 free night awards at 50K. I did find some properties I could use this on out and about, and it is a chase card. But if I were to apply for this, it would put me at 524. And that would mean, under these new rules, that I may not actually be eligible to get this credit card that I also want, which is the IHG One Rewards Premier card, which is same exact deal. 5,000 spent in 3 months, and you get 5 free nights at 60K each, which I also found some good properties that could exist there. But then not only that, but I also want another Chase credit card, that being the Prime Visa, which offers a $200 Amazon gift card just for applying and getting approved for the card. And we've known for many, many years that the Chase Prime Visa has never really been subject to the 524 rule, or at least has been able to break out of it, to where if you apply over 824, you pretty much can bypass that and still get this card. But with these new changes, I'm wondering, are we even going to be eligible for the bonus on the Prime Visa anymore? So it's leading me to think like, okay, now I have to really prioritize, since I'm only 424 at the moment. I only have 1 slot maybe out of these 3 cards that I want to apply for, which one to actually choose. And then not only that, but then also everybody who's kind of like in my situation where we've been just waiting 48 months to get our new Sapphire card. Literally the only reason I was staying under 424, other than these new cards that I didn't really consider until like literally a couple of weeks ago or maybe last week, that I was just holding out for that 48-month rule to get a new Sapphire bonus. But now that that's kind of gone for the most part, I get those little caveats, I'm like, there's no other reason to kind of stay under 524 anymore, which actually feels just a little bit freeing to know that if that was the only thing I was kind of waiting for, then Okay, let's just really go ham now. So we'll see. And back to it. And so as I found myself in this dilemma, I realized like I bet a lot of people are in this situation too. And I bet they would want to know all of these different new application rules so this way they can make the best moves going forward. So what do I really think at the end of the day? I really do think that Chase has done the best thing as a business. I think everybody can understand that. All right. Most of us in this community try to play the game to the best of our ability, right? We want to be profitable to the banks by using their credit cards because we get a lot of rewards back. There's a reason these cards have rewards in the first place. But we also want to maximize the amount of vacations and experiences we have. And we can do that and make that possible with all of these different credit cards. And so, with all these changes that have been implemented, especially on Chase's end in the last few months, it definitely suggests a bit of a tightening. Things like this we're going to see going forward from any of the big three, big four banks. And it really just means that we really, at this time, have to iron out exactly what our credit card strategy is and really just go as hard as you possibly can while you can, because there's no telling when these changes are going to occur. We just know that the only constant is change. We know that these things will change over time. But what you do know now is whatever cards you see open, right? If you see a boundless 5 free nights with 5,000 spend and you know there's a property that's 50,000 points, if you could spend 5 nights there and you can get that card today, don't sleep on it. I would get the card today. Get that welcome offer and use it to the fullest. And it's definitely not saying that this is the end of the rope. I'm not saying they're not going to make it harder necessarily for the future. But as we do know, as long as you guys have been in this game and as long as I have over the past 7 years, welcome offers have only trended up. By the time I finished the welcome offers on my green, gold, and the platinum, it still was less in total points earned than that of just one, literally one platinum card welcome offer today, right? I think I got like 100K between those three cards, and now you can get 175K on the platinum card today. So welcome offers are always trending up, and there always needs to be more and more incentives to get people in the door because these credit card companies need more and more acquisitions every single quarter. And this way, the stock market can remain favorable for them because they are growing quarter over quarter. Amex has been a beast at this, and that's why they are kind of leading the charge on high annual fees and credits. And so all of this kind of stems back to the same thing. Credit cards are going to change, and there's always going to be a constant push and pull between the maximizers like us and the banks who are trying to profit as much as possible. And there's always a little bit of a middle ground and a sweet spot between them. And so, with that, we're going to get higher annual fees, more credits, and more things that might not actually be the most beneficial for you. And that's why in this video, I talk about why premium credit cards aren't necessarily for me and why they might not be for you any longer for the future. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you see you there. It's a really good video, and I hope you have good travels and a lot of fun. Take care, guys. Enjoy the holiday, and bye-bye.